Yeah, this is great because you're going to have me on in a year from now, and it's going to be a whole different tune. I promise you that.
Ba-boom.
Great.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. We
I'm going to
are.
be sharing the stage with Brandon Bouchard.
That's awesome.
This year. Yeah.
Great.
I'm going to be on stage with them.
Cool. And we're live.
And Bo Bison. Yeah.
Oh, we're live.
Oh, are we live?
Yeah.
Oh, welcome. They're welcome live to the Facebook world right now.
We're always so surprised when we're live. Meanwhile, we've just been talking about
And
it
then-
for 5 minutes.
and then we talk about how surprised we
The
are.
demeanor changes.
Yeah.
Isn't that just interesting?
We're
So-
it's fine.
So, first of all, actually, as we're live, I should have
Yeah.
asked you this before. How do you pronounce your last name?
Well, we're just going with Kayvon.
We're just going
We're
Kayvon.
Brandon Kayvon, yeah.
First and only. I
Now
like that.
we're on live with
We got
Facebook right
Prince.
now, so I say hi,
Yeah.
We
hi,
got
hi, my mom.
Madonna.
Hi, mom.
Huh? Madonna?
Prince.
Yeah.
Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga, yeah. So that's actually, it's funny you asked that. That is the thing is, yeah, you got Jay-Z, right? You got Beyonce, and then you got Kayvon. And the reason for that is my last name's very long and challenging.
Mine too.
And no matter what way I try to change it, I just can't get it. So I figured, my mom blessed me with such a beautiful name, I think, Kayvon, which means actually Saturn in our culture. And it's a very unique name in the Persian culture as well. So I figured, you know what? We're just going to go with Kayvon.
I like it.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, what's you're the comics guy.
Oh, yeah?
Not the comics guy, but you know stuff about stuff.
One or two
So
nerd-related things. Thank you.
Was it DC Comics that had the origins stories?
Yes.
That was it?
They all do.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we want to get into your origin story because I think it's part of the coolest thing about anything.
I
But
think so, yeah.
first, I guess just to give you a quick introduction to the Facebook world and to our world here. So your name is just Kayvon, and you are recognized as a lifestyle entrepreneur, high performance business and life coach, and keynote speaker. Mm-hmm. You're a former professional #1 salesman in 3 highly competitive industries, a 2-time collegiate male athlete of the year, university football running back, and national ski racer, currently transforming lives and touching souls across North America. Now, those are some big shoes to fill.
That's some big shoes to fill.
What are you going to do next?
Who wrote that bio? Oh, my. Yeah.
Excellent.
So, yeah, so tell us, so before we get into what you're up to now, tell us your origin story.
Before we do that, because I met Kayvon and I found him to be like one of the most interesting dudes I'd ever met, because within the first 5 minutes of meeting you, you're like this bundle of energy, and you're like, here's like 10 things I'm working on right now. What do you think? Kind of thing. And just I just found that I like that drive. So
yeah.
I want to know, were you always that way growing up, and how did you get from? You grew up here, right?
No. I grew up in a small town, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Oh. It's a very, very, very small town. It's known, I think 45% is Italian, right? So it has that kind of a culture. But it's a very, very, very small, blue-collared town. And I love it, and I'm very grateful for being raised there. But I always knew that I had to grow beyond that. And the drive, it's interesting. The drive used to be anger. I used to have this angry, I got to prove everyone wrong because everyone told me I couldn't do it in life. They said I wouldn't make it. And we can go into those stories a little later. So what happened through the course of proving everything wrong, I actually started getting some results, but they weren't fulfilling results. I wasn't feeling fulfilled inside because I always knew it was coming from a place of anger, it was coming from a place of, I'm proving you wrong, I'm going to show you wrong. And I got to a point in my life where after I've gone to my 3rd industry, pharmaceutical industries, #1 across the country, came into this territory in BC 3 years ago, turned it around, brought 15% market share to 30% market share.
Nice.
And I still wasn't accepted. I wasn't part of the boys, the gentleman's club. And it just bothered me. It was always this acceptance, like this fear of acceptance. This, I was always getting pushed away. And it wasn't up until I realized I'm a triangle. I'm not a square. All my life, I've been trying to fit this triangle into this square. And that's not me.
No. And you grew up with some challenges too, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, I grew up with a lot of challenges.
You had some difficulty
Absolutely.
learning and some other things.
Yeah, I mean, in grade 1, they told me I wasn't going to pass elementary school. It failed me grade 1. I mean, who fails grade 1? I guess I had a hard time with the pluses and minuses, right? Reality, right? Like, people, they don't believe when I said no, like, literally held back. And I'll tell you what happened.
Well, they don't fail kids anymore.
They don't fail kids anymore, which, again, good and bad, because what are we showing our kids, right? I mean, when you get to the real world and you go to that job, you only have one chance. Or if you're trying to build your own business, right, you're going to hear a lot more no's than you do yeses. So that's a different conversation. But what happened was they held me back. So then now what did I do? I became a target. Not only did I become a target of the generation I was in grade 1 the first time with, now I'm the target with the generation I'm going to grade 1.
So these are kids picking on
So these are kids picking on me. But I'll tell you, people are interested when I say this, is the kids didn't bother me. I mean, we're all kids. We get bullied. That's what it was. You know who bothered me the most? Were the principals, the teachers, and the parents. That was the stuff that really hurt. I didn't see a recess. I literally did not see a recess till probably grade 8. I was told I wasn't allowed to come to school in the morning early. At lunchtime, they would take me from my classroom, put me in the grade, 4 or 5 grades ahead of me, have them all laugh at me. If that wasn't working in there, they would literally sit me right outside of the principal's office.
Did they have your desk next to the teacher's desk?
Every time.
And all the other kids.
Oh,
And
man.
I've
had that happen once.
Taking me out.
I spent 2 grades in that desk.
It's all funny, but that stuff it's traumatic as a kid, and you don't actually realize it. I still remember the feeling of always having every day being taken out of the class, going down to this special resource class, everyone's snickering and laughing, saying that I'm this different kid, right? And it didn't stop all the way through high school. Was the same thing, and right till university. I was on my first year university on a football scholarship, and the resource teacher, so the dean of this department, this is the person who's supposed to give you, who's supposed to make you feel accepted at the school. It's supposed to make you feel comfortable and make it easy for you, so these LDs that we have, learning disabilities, right? ADD, ADHD. There was actually a point where I said, "Hey, Doc, can you get me the PhD? Make me feel better?" Right?
Yeah.
Jeez. So she looks at me, and then my mom, I'll never forget, my mom was there. Thank God my mom was there, because I love her very much, and she was always my savior, my mother. And she looks at me, my mother, and says, "You have no hope at this university. You will not pass. And your thoughts of going to college and taking business, that's a pipe dream, and I think you should probably get real with your expectations. Go back to the city that I didn't want, that I knew I needed to grow from,
Right.
to the one place I feared the most, the factory where my dad worked 40 years, slaving away." She was telling me at 21 to go back to that. That there's anger there, right? And I used that anger all the time, but it wasn't up until about a year ago where I turned that anger, which was my fortress, and I turned it into my fuel. And that's where my drive comes. Now it's bigger than me. It's not about me coming from an angry place. It's me coming from a place where I want to impact kids and have breakthroughs with kids and not let them ever go through what I had to go through.
Right.
Don't let them feel down.
So when let's say back to like your 21-year-old self, when you were told that, did you have that thought right away? Like, screw you, like I'm going to do something, or did it take like a process to get you out of that?
I'll tell you, I mean that thought with a lot of change that happens. When you go away to university, you're leaving your friends, you're leaving your comfort zone, you're going to a whole new life basically in that little 4-year chapter. And I actually got into a very bad state of depression. I don't talk about this actually. I think this is the first time I've talked about this live. It was a very dark and deep place for me. I still had that inner fight. Whether my actions showed it and whether I felt it, there was that burning desire that was so deep in me, and that was the whole thing was my light was dimming, and I was letting it dim, and then you just finally get through that. So when people say they're depressed, I understand medical depression, but a lot of people these days are saying they're depressed, and I think you're not depressed. You're just not doing what you want to be doing.
Right.
If you make yourself busy, everywhere there's a white spot on your calendar, fill it up. Guarantee you will not be depressed, right? And my thing was I wasn't filling up with my calendar. I was letting those thoughts of you're not going to make it. That teacher, she's still burning that look she gave me, and my mother. Again, thank God my mother grabbed my hand a lovely lady. She really, I always say she's like honestly a walking Mother Teresa. She just looks at the lady and goes, "Thank you very much. I hope you have a great day." Grabs me. She's like, "We're leaving right now," and literally packed my bags and took me out of there because my mother knew that wouldn't be a good environment for me. And that change, another change within such a short period of time, brought me into that funk. But as I was climbing out of that funk, I was coming to my own, and that's where I went from detention to dean's list. I started realizing if I'm going to go through school, I got to take it serious. And I'm not that stupid. No, I'm not. Maybe I'm not have this high IQ, but I got pretty good EQ, and I'm going to make the system work for me. So I became friends with the teachers. Instead of sitting at the back of the classroom, I was sitting at the front of the classroom. I was going in 5 minutes before class. Every class I would go to, I would before the semester started, go right to the teacher. "My name is Kayvon. I have apparently these LDs, ADD, and ADHD. I have a hard time learning, but I can promise you I'm going to pass this class, and I got to be on the dean's list. So whatever I have to do, I want to do it. So can you help me do that? I'll be at class every day. I will not be skipping class, but there might be times on the test where I might not get that answer right. Yeah. Do you think you can help me out?" And what do they do? 9 out of 10 times. Absolutely. They help me out. Why? Because I showed that I cared.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting too because you started with you made a conscious decision to make some change, and then you sought mentoring and help from someone else, from the teachers to do it. Yeah. You had the support of your mom as well.
Yeah, always the support of my mother. Yeah.
So it's interesting how you made that turnaround where it started with just a decision.
Yeah.
And then from there, and of course the experience at the dean's office, of course. But that was the catalyst to make that decision to go ahead and change.
And that's what I think it is. It becomes this decision in your life where you get sick and tired. You know the saying, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. Or my thing
we've heard it once or twice.
Well, exactly. So I don't like saying it because it's just this buzz thing. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Well, but chiropractors.
Mine is more like enough was just enough. And here's the thing is all my life, my mom always was my savior. I was sent home on a weekly basis. If I can get through a week of school without being sent home, that was like finding gold. Mm-hmm. My mom picked me up all the time, and I realized, and this is actually a realization I thought of like in the last couple months, was the reason why I would act out after the teachers told me you're not going to make it, then gave me that dirty look. Then another teacher would come by and go, "Oh, you again." And they didn't realize, as I'm sitting outside the teachers' offices, the saying, the walls have ears. Mm-hmm. They don't think that I couldn't hear them and that energy of making me just pushing down, dimming that light. So what I would do, I'd act out so much that they would have to call my mother because my mother was my savior. Well, when I was in that depression, my mother wasn't coming to save me. It wasn't her time to save me. It was my time. I had to save myself. I knew that it had to come with me. There's nobody that was going to come and help me out of this hole. And when I realized that, I started to take responsibility. I started to take action on what I need to do. Was it easy? No, nothing's easy. This doesn't come like that, right? But it's one step every day. So I went from feeling really, really, really sad and really bad to the next day feeling okay. And eventually, how you doing, Kayvon? I'm feeling good. Mm-hmm. Good turned into great. Great turned into me today. I had to be my savior.
You know that age, that 20, 21, 22, 23, that
quarter life crisis.
I mean, yeah, you are kind of faced with the decision to make at that point in life, whether you're going to stay on the path that you've been going on essentially all your life, which is academics, career kind of thing, or you're going to veer off and do something else. And it seems like you kind of did a combination of both eventually.
And it's funny you said that. And that's what makes me different from a lot of the Gary V's, right? Gary, and even like I'm having a brain fart there, like the Googles and all them, like they're all dropout, all like high school dropouts.
Yeah.
Me, I'm the actually opposite. I was the guy who they said, they're never going to make it. I fought through the system, crawled, literally. It felt like I was crawling with my fingernails just through the system, always no. And then I put myself into the working world, the Monday to Friday again. I'll never forget this. I got this job. It was my very first job at a university. And I started on Monday, and I put my papers in on Friday. At that moment, I knew I was never a Monday to Friday, 9 to 4 guy. So that I was grateful for.
What was the job?
It was a marketing job where you were just calling out. It was a sales marketing job. Right. We're doing promotions, so getting getting big companies like Duracell to team up with other companies to do cross promotion, joint venturing, and we were the catalyst for that. I loved the job. It was it could have been a great career, but 9 to 5 wasn't me. I mean, I couldn't do it. I literally cannot do it. I still don't do it today. So I went out and I seeked more sales jobs or outside sales jobs, and I did really well with it. Is it easy? No. A lot of people think, oh, it's cushy, not having to be at a job. It's actually hard some days. You're by yourself. You're in your car. They call that the dashboard depression for car salespeople. When you're just behind that, you get in your thoughts. And then I eventually got in the corporate world again. So I was right back to where I almost felt like where I started, trying to prove this point. Everyone's saying you can't do it. Everyone's saying, who's this? He's different. I'm different. It's not that I'm different. You don't like me because I'm shining.
Was this the pharmaceutical sales?
Yeah, this is the pharmaceutical sales.
Very cutthroat industry. Very. There's a lot of training, a lot of competition. It's work.
It's very cutthroat, and it's sad too when it's cutthroat through your own coworkers.
Right.
Right.
Well, that's what I meant.
And the leadership. That's just about leadership. But needless to say, no, it was an amazing experience, and I'm so grateful to have worked that and to have gone through all that experience to realize what it is I needed to do. And it wasn't long ago where I realized now I know what my passion is. And this is the key. There's a message I can get across for anyone that's listening right now is when you find your true purpose, which it could take time, don't fight it, because I was fighting it for 10 years. And I wasn't enjoying as much as I could have. Now I look back, I was trying to find what that was. When it comes to you naturally, and that intersects with your God-given talents, you literally become unstoppable. Literally. I just had my best high school child friend call me right now, just 10 minutes before this podcast. I watched him go through, I think it was like 30 years of school. He finally is internal medicine, infectious disease doctor. He's 32 years old. I've seen him since junior kindergarten going to want to be a doctor. Like pretty amazing stuff. And that's that right there. Is he knew he was fortunate enough to know his purpose at that young age. Right. This is where I come in. A lot of kids, and I know this, especially nowadays with social media and parents and all this stuff, is they don't know what they want to do. They have all these pressures from society, and they start to melt. They start to break down. They start to act out. I want to be that guy that comes in and says, you do have a chance. You do have a hope. Let's find your purpose. Let's find what drives you, and then let's put that in a roadmap to get you to where you want to be. And even if you don't know what you want to do when you're 40, you probably have an idea of what you want your life to look like by the end of the school year or by the beginning of the school year. Right. So that's what I do.
I find that really fascinating. It's really interesting that through your whole process, that it's kind of like, it seems like you chose, consciously or unconsciously, you chose kind of like the hardest avenue to get you to where you are now. Like if you talk about rejection all the way through school, telling you you're not good enough, telling you you're not going to do this or that, and then you go into sales, which is the exact that exact thing, right? Yeah. So you choose that. You're like, it's like you're asking to like stack the deck against you, right? The odds are not in your favor.
Yeah, no, the odds were always against me, and I do look at it like that sometimes, but I forget about it, and that's. And it doesn't make me different than a lot of people. Like the odds are stacked against a lot of people. But yeah, did I surge myself into more of that? I think so. I think I needed to get that to build the grit. Right. And that's where like the football and the sports was really something that I excelled at, because it was competitive. And they were, ski racing is an individual sport. And the joke was always my race was won before I even got the starting gate. Mm-hmm. So either I was mentally prepared to win that race or I was out before I even started. Yeah. And it was the same thing with football. There were games where I was going to win and we won. And as a running back, you're going to get those touchdowns. Or there's games where you're just self-doubt, the fans, the people, all the haters. It was crazy. But yeah, you're right. I hear a lot of no. And still this day, I'm going to hear a lot more no's probably before I hear a lot of yeses. Yeah. And it's exciting.
Do you think that is that something that you encounter a lot? Let's say like when we're talking to either young people or just anybody really who's having trouble with trying to find out what their vision, what their passion is in life, is that they've spent their entire maybe their entire life up to that point trying, like always taking the hardest road to get there. And it's like you mentioned something right before we started recording, is like you feel yourself as like this warrior, but not necessarily because you're trying to fighting against something, right? And how long are people just kind of like, they're just trying to fight against all of the stuff that maybe they don't want, as opposed to just releasing that and maybe surrendering to what they do want.
That's right? I mean, you just said it, right? You said it in the question is that's what I felt like all my life. I felt like I was fighting against something, and I was fighting from that anger, but it was towards something that it was superficial. It was a materialistic. It wasn't a fruitful. It wasn't an impactful kind of thing. And what I realized is I don't want to fight against something anymore. I want to fight for something with good intention, with a great mindful space where you're trying to make an impact, and it doesn't come from anger. People go, do you want to go back to those teachers and flipping the bird? No. If anything, I would love to go back to the teachers that are in the schools today and just educate them on how what you say and how you do and what you do, it really impacts the kids. And even though you don't think you might be being negative, you really are. So be aware of that. And that kid that you guys keep writing off, that kid that you just labeled that he's never going to make it, you just took away someone's dream. You took away someone's purpose. You dimmed their light. Why?
Let's talk about those kids for a sec, because that age group, I guess we're calling them millennials, but I don't really know what the definition of millennial is. But there's a lot of talk, at least in the media, of how these kids are, they're directionless. They are launching later on in life, failure to launch syndrome. They're living at home longer. You've worked with a few of them. What's the biggest issue in that age group that's holding them back collectively? And what are some of the things that they could start doing now to kind of grind out and get out of that situation? Because nobody thinks they're going to accomplish anything, that age group. But I have a different opinion. I wonder what yours is too.
I do too. I think that whole, they don't make the kids anymore. I mean,
right. They don't make them like they used to.
They don't make milk the way they used to make, right? They don't make like food the way they used to make. Right. I mean, we live in a changing times. Like, I mean, with technology and social media, I mean, the one thing is I can't believe how much is connected to everyone. And this whole, kids are taking a little longer to settle down. Well, that's because before all this technology, what was there when we were growing up? Because you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a lawyer, you're going to be a dentist, or you're going to work in a factory. And there was not, like, there's so many other jobs out there that they don't, like, the school systems don't even tell you about.
Right.
There's so many other career paths. And I think what happens is these kids, they see their parents. They see the parents either being the nurse or the dad being the business guy or the accountant or the dentist, and they feel like they got to live up to their expectation. And the one thing is, no, that's where I come in. I say, no, you don't live up to your parents' expectation. You live up to your expectation. So what is your expectation? And what these kids don't have is they have zero expectation. They have no goals. So I'll tell you, no goals, no dreams, no respect for school, no respect for this, like for the system. I want to show them how to even create a goal for a month, a 2 month, a 3 month. Because once you show someone how to write a goal down, a real attainable goal, and they accomplish that goal, life changing. Mm-hmm. They start to buy in. So when I work with my kids, they say, I want to be a millionaire. And I go, okay, that's great, but what do you want by next week?
Right.
Okay. So then we work baby steps, because then they get this sense of accomplishment. They get this sense of getting something done, and then they actually naturally start getting this energy where they suppress that energy because they were scared. And another thing is these kids are scared. A lot of them do have dreams. How about this? A lot of them do have dreams. You know what they're scared of, though? Is to speak their dreams into existence. Mm-hmm. They're afraid to say, I want to do this, because they're afraid of what the peer pressure and what society, what the school system or what their parents might think.
Right.
And it's crazy. It's crazy that if you have a dream, tell it. Hey, Martin Luther King, what do you do? Right? He said, I have a dream. Told the entire nation. He changed history. Like, he changed the way we are now. I mean, why would you say that to any kid? You don't have, you can't have a dream.
I think a lot of the times it's crabs in the bucket, right? Like, one crab tries to climb out, the other one's pulling down. I think we were talking about like kids being told in school, you're going to be a fireman, doctor, whatever.
Yeah.
They're still being told that. right? And and the world has changed drastically since when we were in school. And they're still being told, the way to a happy life is you go through school, then you graduate high school, you do a few more years of school, you get some kind of degree, then you go work, and then hopefully you make enough money, you save up to buy a house, whatever. And the 20-year-olds today are looking around and saying, that's not really like the best option available, is there? Because it's kind of boring. And so I think at the same time, they're not being given a whole lot of guidance, but they're seeing almost overnight sensations on the internet, on YouTube. They're seeing people, and it's never overnight, I know that, but they're seeing people kind of taking control of their own destiny and using things like social media to actually propel their future and their dreams more so than ever. And I think that's kind of optimistic for that generation.
It is. So there's the caveat to that too, right? They're seeing the Justin Biebers, right? One video changes his life. But what they're also not seeing is a lot of the failures. No one shows you how many. There's a lot more failures than there are successes, and that's one of the things that I teach too. Is I will never tell a kid, oh, you can have a dream and go after it. I'll say, you have a dream. Let's put this paper and let's look at it, and let's figure out how we get there. Because I'm going to tell you, and you know this, it is a tough and mean place out there. You know the Rocky speech he says to his son, right? It's tough, it's mean, the world's going to keep you down, it's going to keep you down, and you got to get up, and cowards stay down, right? I mean, that really resonates with me, because that was me. I always got knocked down, got to get back up, get knocked down, you got to get back up, and it's not just in high school, and it's not just in college, and I know it's not just in your your first 4 years of your job. It's all your life. Things are going to be coming and getting beaten. You're going to be getting beaten down by life, and things are going to come at you. It's how you deal with them. It's how we change our responses to the events. You can never change the event.
Yeah, and just to add to that too, I think sometimes even worse than that, people will often be critical and they'll say, oh, you can't do that, you can't do that. But I think what's even worse sometimes is the danger of low expectations. Do whatever you want. Who cares? We don't have any expectation of you to succeed or whatever. You're just going to stay in school for the next 40 years anyway. So yeah, I think that's sometimes even worse, where they're told, nothing, essentially, nothing good, nothing bad. It's just, you'll probably be working at some kind of call center in the next few years anyways.
Well, there's two things there. That's what happens with the kids in high school, is they feel once they've been written off, and once they've been told they can't do it, or even the ones that just, oh, you're average, right? They say, okay, well, I'm just going to hide under this average blanket because I'm too afraid to step out of it. And if I don't try, then I'm just going to convince everyone I'm stupid. But yet I know I'm worth more, but it's too scary for me. And the other one is, I always say, one of life's biggest problem isn't that we shoot too high and miss. It's we shoot too low and succeed.
Yeah.
And people have way too much low expectation. They don't have high expectation. Now, I'm not saying everyone should run out there and start thinking, I'm going to be the next billionaire. But have the expectation of what you know your potential really is. And then set that bar high. And when you get there, you don't stop. You don't say, oh, okay, I'm here now. You keep setting that bar. Yeah, I'm about human growth. I am about human development. I have no problem saying that. I love self-development. And the moment I even accepted that that's what I want my life to be, is every day I want it to be better, quicker, faster. I mean, the human growth is insane. You guys. What about you?
What?
You guys. I know you guys are both chiropractors, and you see. Yeah. I mean, when you even talk about, I love when we talk about the healing process. Someone comes in here with a negative attitude. I'm hurt. I've had this injury for 40 years, and my job sucks. What's the rate of success with those type of people?
Pretty good if they stick with the program. We just have a lot of it is just getting them to listen.
Yeah. Well, I think it's one of the biggest things. Something I was going to ask you next was so there's the process of, let's say someone comes in here to our office, or someone talks to you. So they hear your message. You got to have a dream. Someone comes in here, they have some sort of desired outcome for, I want to feel like this, right? Then you say, all right, that's great. And then we'll say, okay, that's awesome. This is the roadmap.
Yeah.
Right? So this is the process that's gonna take, right? The hardest part, I find anyways, and you can tell me if it's the same for you, but is getting people to continually hold that vision for what's coming up or where they want to be in the process of like, oh, this isn't working, or it's been like, it's been a year, why haven't I reached my goal? Or, there's that whole process. And it's like, and we see like the Justin Biebers, or, I read a thing, and I always come back to because it's a little closer to home to me, but my cousin, who's an Oscar winner now, she has this article that came out in the magazine about a year ago, and she was like all of a sudden like the new it girl for a little bit, and she was like this overnight sensation. Yet I know that she's been acting for 20 years.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, but people don't see that process.
No.
And I think when we don't see that continue, like that's not the shiny stuff that will get people to say, all right, I'm going to get your program, or hey, I'm going to sign up for a program of care, or we're always looking at the result as opposed to the grit work that needs to happen. So how do you get people, like how do you, I guess, coach or strategize with people to maintain or start to gain momentum and kind of stay in the process
and not quit,
not quit before
they get the results.
Before they get the result.
There's a couple things I do. The first thing I do is I ask them right now, are you willing to take 100% responsibility of your life?
But most people are going to say yes to that.
So,
but then
then I put them through a series of modules that show me that. These modules aren't easy. And if they can't complete the module, if they can't complete 1 hour of sitting down and asking themselves internally, am I willing to take 100% responsibility of my life? Mm-hmm. Then that kind of shows you what kind of outcome you expect.
Right.
You can't even spend 1 hour. It's when I do these talks, so I'll do these talks and I'll ask people to stand up. I said, everyone stand up if you have a dream. If you have a dream, stand up. Everyone stands up. And I wait long enough till people start sitting down. And then I say, you couldn't even stand up for 10 minutes for your dream, and you're already sitting down. You think it's going to be an overnight success like that? No. So what the big thing I think a lot of people might not know is that you heard about the teachability index?
Mm-hmm.
You know it? Yeah?
I don't know. I've heard of it.
So teachability index is two major things. Is what's your willingness to learn, but what's your willingness to change? So I got kids, I want to learn everything, Kayvon. I want to be like you. I want to do what you do. All right. Are you willing to not watch TV? Oh, no, I love TV. Okay. Are you willing to not hang out with your friends and stay home and read a book? No, I got to go out with my friends. So if your willingness to learn is a 10, I want to learn, but you're not willing to change, well, what's 10 times 0? Mm-hmm. It's 0, right?
Yeah.
So the thing is, you got to show them is you got to be willing to learn, but you got to be willing to change. You got to be willing to do the things that you never thought you had to do. You got to be willing to say the things you never thought you had to say, so you can start to become that person you know yourself to be, or even just become this person that I can see you being.
Right. Is this part of what you do with the academy members too? Like is this what you start with them too?
Absolutely. I mean, first week, so I have the 5-week Epic Life Intensive Training, which is the 5-star program these are for the high school students, and it's Epic Lifestyle, Epic Looks, right? Epic Smarts, Epic Health, and Epic Job. And each week is based around those titles, and we deep dive. So Epic Lifestyle, I teach them about goal setting. I teach them about character. Mm-hmm. I teach them about being authentic, right? I teach them what it takes to be a leader. I mean, here's a huge thing. Leadership's a buzzword too, leader. But the reality is just be a leader of your own life. Be authentic with who you are, and be a good person, because the world does do good for good people. You might not feel like it all the time, but in the end, it really does. And when you're not living life authentically, if you're being, here's one of the things is like, I want to be a really good person, but you're lying or you're stealing or cheating. It just doesn't work. It's just not working, right? If you're going to say you want to be a good person, show me. Act like you're going to be a good person, and don't think you can be a good person for 1 day or 5 weeks.
Right.
It's a lifetime thing. But I'm here to just show them. I'm here just to introduce them to what it is. Everything that I went through, all that pain and all that struggling and all that deep depression that I was in, like I don't want a kid. I don't think I want anyone to ever have to feel what I felt. And I know that I have I do have the power. I do say that, and I say that confidently. And I have the tools to help certain people. I can't be everyone's savior, and not everyone's gonna like me, and I'm okay with that. But there are people out there that need me. and I need them, and that's why I say it's always bigger than me.
Right. Well, I think it's such a powerful statement too, because I think when someone has a dream, I think typically for most people, once they really get down to it, it's the dream is not like I want to be the next billionaire. No. There's always something behind that, right? And typically, I find anyways, when people dive deep enough, it's usually about something about contributing to others, about helping others, right?
It is.
And when we start to look at helping others, I mean, I know something that one of my mentors had said once. He said, or we talk about in chiropractic, is like we understand that everyone or everybody needs chiropractic. Like everybody deserves to be checked and adjusted if needed by a chiropractor. But I'm not everybody's chiropractor.
No.
I can't be that same thing for everybody, right? Like I can't be that to everybody. And just like you're saying, like everyone needs personal development. Everyone needs a dream. Everyone needs to have the grit or to create the grit to be able to follow through. But you're not necessarily the guy to do it for everybody.
I'm not.
And I think maybe that's something that people miss when they say, okay, I want to do what you do. And then they go to the next person to say, I'm gonna help you. And they're like, nah, I don't need your help.
Well,
so then they're like, shit. Like,
and then they give up.
Yeah.
But that's the one problem too, right? Let's go back to what you're saying about the kids not they don't know what to do, is because they keep saying to people, I want to be like you, but they're not asking the question, I want to do what you did.
Right.
Don't you can't be like me. This is 30 years, this is 31 years of experience, or 40 years of experience, or 50 years of experience. You can't be like them. Ask me what I did. I can show you what I did to get where I am. And a lot of people are not asking the right question on that one.
And sometimes what not to do also. I think you take your lessons from everywhere, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the things I've noticed over time is that, the more I make mistakes, of course, the more you learn from them. We tend to romanticize the mistakes a little bit too, though, but sometimes they could have been avoided in the first place. And you don't always have to make the mistake to learn the lesson. But I think you take your cues from wherever you can. So whether it's a mentor, whether it's your own personal experience, whether it's reading a book, I think people just need to be open more than anything. And that will oftentimes be the catalyst. If you're hearing things and you're open, that'll oftentimes be the catalyst to get started.
And that's one of the things is if you have the power enough to sit and ask, whatever your religion or whatever it is, but do you have the power to sit there and ask whatever that higher power is, can I be better? Can I be great? And you sit long enough till you hear the answer. Mm-hmm. That's the question. Are you willing to do that? I'll tell you what huge thing changed for me, and even I'm still in the process of it, is all my life I was after one thing: money. Money is going to give me power. Money is going to be able to go back and tell everyone you're all wrong. And this is the first time in my life that I do not care about money. The only thing I care about is the breakthrough. Mm-hmm. And every time I have a breakthrough with a student of mine, or I do with all different types of ages, and I just had some great breakthroughs this week. I just sit back, and that's my energy. That's my wealth. That's my what I used to think was money. Right. Money isn't. You go after money, you're going to be a very, very miserable person. You go after your dream. You go after your purpose. You go after doing a better cause. That money, all that stuff will take care of itself. It really does. Right.
What do you do now when you get the proverbial teacher who tells you you're not going to do it, like you can't pass? Like, because I think there's also the expectation that we'll see people on stage. I've definitely been guilty of this. Is I'll see people on stage. I'm like, oh my god, like they've got all of this shit figured out. They must just float through life and everything's just handed to them because they just have this magnetism, this power. But I think there's a really cool movement in leadership in when we see people on stage, is that we're hearing more of the authentic story of I'm just as fucked up as you guys are,
absolutely,
if not more. But I've figured these things out that will allow me to go through that and get on the other side. So what do you do when life kicks you in the nuts?
So here, you want an authentic story? It was
right in the nuts.
Yeah,
right in the nuts.
Yeah. So here's an authentic story. Last week was such a surge. These surges, these highs, these lows, right? I mean, get into that ever. But last week was such a high for me. I was in LA, meeting all these people, and then this week I come back to my house by myself, sitting there, and it's like, now what? Day one's okay, but by day two, I felt that negative thoughts came this week. Negative thoughts. Yeah. What are you going to do? You can't do
that. And for
that.
people don't know, what were you doing in LA?
What was I doing?
Can you talk about it?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was really amazing. I went down. I was working with the #1 vocal coach, Roger Love. If for those of you that don't know who he is, I encourage you to look him up. He's Hollywood's #1 vocal coach. Worked with Gwen Stefani. Remember the movie Walk the Line?
Oh yeah.
He trained both of them. I mean, an array of people. He's worked with Bouchard. He's worked with Tony Robbins. The list goes on. This guy's amazing. So I was working actually with him on my vocal coach, not to learn how to sing.
Just so you should have heard his voice before
I
that.
I do not know how to sing. I'm the last person you want me to sing. Who wants to sing? And then I was also working with a guy. His name's Jay Menez, an amazing person. He does a lot of directing and producing. He was just doing a shoot with Hugh Hefner, which was pretty funny. He has Muggsy Bogues, the shortest basketball player. Yeah, so he's doing his story, which is like a Rudy. He's doing a Rudy, which I honestly think it's going to win an Academy Award. And I'm with these people, and people are, how did you get that? Literally, I just been leaping. I've been just jumping and going for it. An opportunity comes. I've been seizing it. Has it been scary? 100%. Has it been fun? 100%. But it's not always fun. It's not always bad. There's a balance. It's just these highs and lows. It's like the ocean. The ocean comes in. What happens? We get this big wave. We get on it and we start surfing. But what happens eventually? It ends.
It dies out.
And what we have to understand is, what are we doing while we're paddling in the water, waiting for the next surge? Are we getting negative? Are we getting beaten down? Are we listening to the critics? I'll tell you this. Show me your haters, I'll show you your success. Because as you start to leave, like you're saying with the crabs, right? As you start to leave your pod, they're going to try to keep you down. They're trying to hold you down all week, still this week. Every day I hear someone going, what are you doing? Are you sure you're doing that? Oh, just watch out your money. Like, don't do anything too crazy. And what I do, you ask me how I deal with that, I just have this mental note in my head now is, that's negative. That's negative. You can listen to it, you can say, okay, thank you, but just keep it out. But,
so how do you decipher someone who's really trying to help you and being critical and someone who's just being negative?
I'm not going to make something up on that one. I think for me, because I've reached this point in my head of this, not this confidence, but of this, I know what I need to do for the rest of my life. I can feel authentically if someone's just trying to be a naysayer and saying, no, you can't do it. And I it's not that I say, oh, they're being negative. I understand why they're doing that. That's the thing, is understanding. They're saying this to me, not because I'm going after my dream, it's because I'm making them feel comfortable in their existence. Mm-hmm. Right. So they want to they want to bring you back. I'll tell you, on Tuesday, back to my story, I was feeling low. And you know what? I said, I'm feeling low, and I can feel myself feeling low. You know when you're feeling low. Like, you know when things are not good. So I picked up the phone and I called someone that I loved. I called my sister. And within half an hour, I get off the phone and I was feeling like, I'm like, okay, she got me back in check. She didn't say anything. It's just, sometimes you just got, if you're feeling low, change that. Go do something. Go to the gym. Go to the coffee shop. Just change it. Mm-hmm. Don't let this an hour turn into 2 hours, turn into 3 hours, turn into, this one. I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. I'll feel better tomorrow. Because you know what happens. Yeah. You go to bed feeling low, chances are you're waking up feeling low. And tomorrow turns into weeks, turns into months. And that I know from very much experience from when I was in my 20s. And I'll never let myself get like that. I always say to myself, I will never let myself get to that dark hole ever again. I can't.
I think that's so key, and this is something we preach on a different level. But when it comes to health, when it comes to success, when it comes to how you feel, like you're saying, you can't think your way out of feeling a certain way. You have to behave differently, right? Like we talk about, health is a behavior. Health is not an event. Success is not an event. It's something that you do continue. It's the way that you behave. Yeah. And I think if you're going off course, then you just need to behave differently.
You gotta change.
Do something different. But you need to change your physiology. You need to change.
Well, I mean, Tony Robbins is a big one, right? He's always a big, just like if you're sitting like I'm sitting like this and I'm feeling low. The moment you stand like literally, I already feel better. You got to change it. Here's the thing, right? A lot of people don't understand is they go, oh, I'm stuck here, or I hate this, or this is. It's just like, enough with that. If you don't like what you're doing, if you don't like the things that you're doing, change the things you're doing. And I always say, the other one is, if you can't change the things you're doing, then change the way you're looking at it. Mm-hmm. If you're, I can't leave my job because I have kids and I need to make my mortgage payment. Okay, that's fine. I get that. That's a pretty real, it's a realistic excuse. So okay, then change the way you're looking at it. Stop saying I hate my job, because guess what you're going to probably do? Hate your job. Stop saying, oh, my job sucks and I'm stressed out, because that's what you're bringing in.
And the change doesn't always have to be drastic.
It doesn't.
It can be a gradual change as well.
Right.
I think that's what people miss.
Like this much change.
Yeah.
Just
it's the old saying, just 1% better every day. Just 1% better.
Because what happens over time, right?
Yeah.
You hear this, I'll never steal stuff. That's Tony Robbins, right? Just 1 millimeter this way, and by the time you come here, you're here.
Yeah. Can I ask, so you have the academy.
I have the academy.
What's next?
So I have Kayvon Academy, which is the high school program, the 5-week intensive training program, which this one comes, it's like me, it's the little Kayvon coming back to help.
Right.
Through that, I've had a lot of the parents and the older sisters talking to me, and they're like, well, I wish I had something for that. So I created what I call the next step, which is the Kayvon University. And this one's actually a 9-week, very intensive program, which is really based on discovering your purpose and discovering your greatness.
So this is for who? Someone who's older in business?
This one for sure, because the questions that we go through and the module we go through, they're deep, right? So this is definitely, I would say, from someone 23, 24, not first year college, but someone second year, third year who started to ask themselves, what is it that I want? I'm kind of lost, though I don't know what I want to do. This program is amazing for you. This program is also good for that 30, 32-year-old who's like, I've listened to what my parents have told me. I've done what my friends have told me. I'm now 31 and I'm miserable. I can't do it anymore, and I know there's something more in me, but I don't know exactly what that is. That I've built this program to help you identify what is your true purpose. Mm-hmm. What is it that you want? And then again, we build a roadmap to it. And that's a coaching call with me. So I actually do a 1-hour coaching call weekly for the 9 weeks, and then we turn into a monthly. And all this is bringing you into a community full of people, winners. And I also have the keynote speaking. I do the Kayvon business coaching. This is for small entrepreneurs, small businesses. I teach them how to grow. I got a 52-week proven system. Been on NBC, ABC, Fox News. It's an amazing system that I've partnered with some other people on. And then I also have one-on-one coaching that's more for my high-performance business owners and thought leaders. Yeah. Awesome. So it's been an amazing journey. It's been great.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they wanted to seek you out online?
So
you're on Snapchat.
Yeah, I do have Snapchat, but I'm not heavy on that. I know I got to get on that. You just can't, as your own, right? There's so much you can only do.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm going through a brand new branding phase. So eventually, I do have www.kayvon.com, which I'm very proud to own that. I'm very excited about that. But right now, you can go to www.kayvonuniversity.com. You can go to www.kayvonbusiness.com, and you'll go to my business website for that. You can also, I really encourage you to get to Facebook and type in Kayvon University. You'll see everything that's happening in the community there for sure, and all that. And you get all my contact right there.
Yeah, we'll link it up to you in the show
notes.
notes.
We'll have it all in the show notes page as well.
Yeah, and Instagram is Kayvon University too on Instagram. So, and
Excellent.
Twitter is K University. So yeah.
So you're everywhere.
I'm everywhere. The Snapchat it's going to come. The Snapchat's going to come. Yeah.
Any last words for people who may be listening, who are struggling, who maybe want to find a better way and a better path in life?
So can I do two?
Sure.
This is for my high school students. Is you have something special. I know you do. I believe that you really do. If you feel that the school has written you off, if your friends have written you off, if they've labeled you with something, but you have this burning desire, this fueling you that is going to make you great, I encourage you to reach out to me. I would love to show you what I can do for you. And if you're stuck, if you know that you're destined for something, but you just don't know exactly what that is, if people ask you what is your being, what is your purpose, and you don't have that answer, I encourage you again to reach out to me. And the last thing I can say, and I said it at the beginning of this, this is something it's pretty real for me, is when you find that purpose Right. And that purpose intersects with what your God-given talents are. You literally become unstoppable. You can have, be, and do anything you want.
Perfect. Words to live by.
Words to live by.
Very nice.
Thanks so much. It's awesome.
Well, thanks for being on. We'll have you back for sure.
No, yeah, for sure. Like to see where it all turns out. Yeah.
Well, like you said, you'll come back in
we'll come back
a year or less.
You give me a year, you give me a year, and I'll tell you I got a lot more going on. Fantastic. It's going to be exciting. Yeah.
Awesome, man.
Well, for everyone listening at home and watching on Facebook and YouTube and various channels, maybe Snapchat too, who knows? Thanks for listening. And if you get a chance, head on over to iTunes. Make sure you subscribe to the Everyday Revolutions podcast. And if you get a chance, leave us a 5-star review. 5-star only, please. We don't accept 4 stars as of yet, but we're working on it.
We're working on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, have an awesome day, man. Thanks so much, Kayvon.
Okay, bye-bye.
Nice work.